I'm so excited because I will bring you along on a typical morning and I will share with you how I study the Torah. I will also share with you my 5 tips that change completely the way I study the Torah. They help me memorize scriptures as well as they help me turn the Word of God in action in my everyday life as a wife, a mom, and even in my medical practice. These tips have truly changed my life, and I pray with all my heart that they will help you too in your journey to connect with God and becoming the person God created you to be. And if you're new here, hi, my name is Sara Malka, and on my channel, I share all facets of my Orthodox Sephardic Jewish life as a full-time working mom with small kiddos. So please don't forget to leave this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Let me put on a pretty tichel, and let's jump into it. I usually wake up around 5 a.m. to have some time alone and for me to be able to take my time and not feel rushed. As soon as I wake up, I will sit up on my bed and I will recite the Moda Ani prayer, where I thank God for giving me another day on earth. Moda Ani levanecha, melecha evekaya, sherizarta binishmati peremla, rabai munatecha. I'm trying to get out of the bed as quietly as possible to make sure I do not wake up anybody. Then I'm going to walk towards the kitchen where I'm going to wash my hands ritualistically. But before I wash my hands, I wanted to share with you this beautiful morning sky. To wash my hands ritualistically, I use a Netilat Yadayim cup or special 2 handles washing cup to pour water from my wrist to the tip of my fingers 3 times on each hand. Then I will take my time to go to the bathroom, wash my hands with soap and water, wash my face as well as brush my teeth. Then I'm going to dress. And finally, I will go downstairs to feel comfortable to do the rest of my morning routine without being concerned that I'm making too much noise and I may wake up somebody. I go to the living room to get my Siddur or prayer book. This one is called the Eshet Chayil Siddur or Woman of Valor prayer book. Now I can start my morning prayers with Birkat HaShachar or morning blessings, thanking God for everything He has given me. Included in these blessings is the blessing to study the Torah called Birkat HaTorah or Blessing of the Torah. I continue with the Shema Prayer, which is a central prayer in our faith as we declare our faith in God every day, twice a day through this prayer. Once I have completed the Shema, I will go in a corner of our living room in front of a bare wall to continue my morning prayer. We pray in front of a bare wall to make sure we do not bow down to images. I start my silent prayer to God called the Amidah, where I speak directly to God, praising Him for His glory, thanking Him for everything He does for us, and petitioning to Him for what I need. And of course, I make sure to pray for you too, my sweet friend. After my prayer, I can start studying the Torah. For me, I realized that I needed to study the Torah first thing in the morning. Otherwise, the craziness of the day made that I pushed my study so far in the evening that I ended up not doing it because I was just so tired. So to avoid this, I'm studying scriptures first thing in the morning after my prayer. Because as the famous saying goes, by failing to plan, you are preparing to fail. And that brings me to the first tip I use that changed completely how I study the Torah, and that is to schedule my time with God. The same way I plan my week, writing down my workouts, my meetings, I plan my time with God. Beside the 15 minutes I do every day after my prayer, I do a longer session every Tuesday that I call Torah Tuesday. I make sure to beautify my planner on that day by adding stickers to make it as pretty as I can, as well as adding little messages of encouragement. Do you also decorate your planner to make it more exciting? Let me know in the comments below. Once my time with God is scheduled, I will take out my Torah, which brings me to the tip number 2 I use to study the Torah, which is one of the most overlooked tip, but one of the most important one, and that is what type of Torah I use, because boy oh boy, they are not created equal. And I wish someone would have told me that, because my learning experience would have been much smoother if I would have known this. Let me show you how different they can be. At first, when I studied on my own, I used a classic Torah, but the English translation was using words that I was not necessarily familiar with. As you know, English is my fourth language, making the reading more difficult, and in some passages, I spent more time trying to make sense of what these fancy words meant instead of focusing on the message in the Torah. So this kind of Torah was definitely a hard pass for me. The next one I was introduced to was a classic Jerusalem Bible, with the English on one side and the Hebrew on the other. It is very simple, and the English is a bit more what I'm used to, but the fonts are small, there's not a lot of space to write, and just overall, it was not my forever Torah. But then I was introduced to my GOAT, my greatest of all time, my go-to Tanakh or Bible, and this one is from ArtScroll. It is the student size, and this particular one I'm using not only has the 5 books of Moshe, or what we called Chumash, but it also has the 19 other books that complete the 24 books of the Torah or Tanakh. It has a very detailed table of content, and it also has an explanation before every book to put everything in context, which is like magic. The font is super crisp and easy to read. The pages are not only silky smooth, which makes writing on them a dream, the pages are also so thin that they make this famous holy book sound when I turn the pages, which reminds me of my childhood when my grandmother would tell me stories from the Torah using her holy books. Do you also have these memories as a child, looking at a holy book and not only loving the stories, but also loving that very specific sound when the pages were turned? Let me know in the comments below. And if it was not enough for me to love this Tanakh, it also has explanations and commentaries at the bottom of the pages, and we will touch more on that a bit later. It has maps to understand what happened where, genealogy trees to understand who was related to whom and when. It has so many images like the Mishkan or tabernacle, what makes an animal kosher, the outfit of the Kohen, and so many other images. And because I'm a visual learner, all these images and charts help me tremendously to learn and remember what I have learned. And of course, I cannot forget the format that is super travel friendly. At this point, you might be thinking these are not necessary, Sara Malka, and you are right. They're not necessary. But personally, when I compare my experience studying in the bare bone first Tanakh to this one, the latter gives me everything I need to be able to study and make studying that much more fun, accessible, and for me it's like a cute outfit. If it has everything I need and it fits perfectly, then I will wear it more often and I will really be happy wearing it. It is exactly the same with my Torah or my Tanakh. Studying in it makes me happy and I'm looking forward to use it because it is so tailor-made for my needs. With my favorite Tanakh in hand, as well as everything I need to study it, I sit down to study. And yes, I make sure I have everything I need to study because there's nothing worse than being in the zone and then you have to stand up, and look for 15 minutes for what you need. So here is what I bring with me when I study. Because I never found highlighters that did not bleed through the pages, I use these twistable crayons. The colors are gorgeous and they never bleed through. I use a retractable pencil to write in my Torah. Beside the fact it does not bleed through the page, if I make a mistake, I can simply erase it. I use the felt pens to write on the tabs I use for my prayer garden, which I will explain a bit later. I use this retractable pen to write in my journal or notebook. And finally, I prepare myself a hot drink, which is a treat I give to myself just for being here and studying, which is another thing I do to really enjoy studying the Torah. Before I study, I pray to God to help me in my learning, and it goes a little something like this. Please, God, make me see what I need to see to help me grow and reach my potential through your words so I can be a better wife, mother, friend, and even improve my medical practice. Then I start my learning session, which leads me to my tip number 3 I use to study the Torah like never before, and that is to cut what I'm going to learn in smaller sections to avoid feeling overwhelmed by the size of this holy book. If you look in the Tanakh, you will see that the Chumash, or what is often referred to as the 5 books of Moshe, are separated already in smaller sections called parasha, or weekly portion of the Torah we read 3 times a week on Shabbat, on Monday, and Thursday. The parasha is like a small snippet of the Torah, which for me mentally helps me not to look at the whole Torah as a huge book, but all of a sudden it seems more manageable to study. To be able to study every day the Torah and to be consistent in my habit, I usually do not study more than 15 minutes at a time, and a bit longer on Tuesdays, which I refer to Torah Tuesdays because on that day I have a full 5 a.m. routine with God. I already did a video on my routine. I will leave the link above and in the description box below. These 15 minutes daily Torah study, plus my special Torah Tuesdays, allow me to complete the Chumash, or the 5 books of Moshe, every year, thank God. And on a side note, we celebrate this accomplishment during one of our holidays called Simchat Torah, where we take out all the Sefer Torah, or Torah scrolls from the synagogue, and we dance with them to show how the study of Torah, or Holy Scriptures, give us such a pure spiritual joy to be able to connect through the Torah with God. Maybe at this time you are asking yourself, Sara Malka, with what book did you start learning Torah? And for me, I'm reading the Torah from the beginning. And that is because for me, if I do not start with the beginning of the Torah, it will be hard to understand the 19 other books of the Tanakh or Bible. For example, if I would have started with the Book of Chronicles, you can see that the first line of the Book of Chronicles is referring to Noah and his family. So how could I really understand the passage if I do not know who was Noah? Who were his children? What happened to them? So for me, by starting by the beginning, I can understand who did what and when, and I can make more connections between the 24 books of the Tanakh or Bible, which makes my study of the Torah much richer, and I can see how every one of the 24 books are interconnected, which makes this holy book cohesive and not simply a collection of books that have nothing to do one with the others. And if you're asking yourself, do I also study the other 19 books of the Tanakh? Then the answer is yes. I usually study 5 books a year, especially in preparation for our holidays. For example, like on Purim, where we're going to read and study the Megillat Esther. I always like to review the explanations of the book I'm studying in the Torah to better understand the context of the passage. My study will be on the book of Shemot or Exodus. Here I'm studying the Parasha Vayera. When I study the text, I will circle what speaks to me. I find that one of the most magical aspects of the Torah or Bible is depending on the season of life you are in, what you will understand from a passage will not only be different from another person's perspective, but it will also be different for the same person from one season to the next. Personally, every year, even though I'm rereading the Torah, I always learn something new and I discover a different message from God that is perfectly catered to me and the season of life I'm in. Did you ever notice that too? If so, let me know in the comments below. If you're asking yourself, what do I do if I have a question about a certain passage? Here is my favorite answer. I'm going to refer back to one of the commentator or scholar on the Torah. Here you can see in our library a small sample of Jewish commentators, whether Rashi, which is the most famous and studied, Onkelos, who was a Roman who converted to Judaism and became an incredible scholar, Ramban, Rambam, or Maimonides, and so many others. What do they bring, you may ask? They bring a way to understand the text like never before, and every section of the passage has a commentary to explain in depth what it means. And if you're saying, Sara, I have no commentator books and I don't have the budget, no problem. You can go online and look up Complete Tanakh on Chabad.org, and when you press on a verse, you will have all the commentators for that section for free online. If I could suggest something, whatever you do, do not only read the text of the Torah and take it as its face value, because all the secrets of the Torah or Bible are found in the commentaries, and it brings your love and understanding of scriptures to a whole new level when you use the commentaries. When I study a passage of the Torah, I color code the passages that speak to me. Usually yellow will be to focus on the way of life I really want to try to emulate in my daily life, like waking up early to serve God like Moshe did. Often when I read the Torah, I have a passage that jumps at me like this one. At first, when I read it, I'm like, yeah, okay. Moshe spoke to Israel and they did not listen. But when I ask myself the question, why did Israel not listen to Moshe? It is written that they were exhausted and weary. The second question I ask myself is, what is the lesson in this passage? To me, it is a reminder that before I speak to someone, I have to feel the room, so to speak, and see if the person I'm about to talk to is receptive or not to a discussion. Because I want to bring my Torah learning to life, and I know I can definitely work on the timing of my conversations, I will write a little reminder about this passage in my notebook where I keep my best of passages from the Torah. I use this notebook as a Torah or Bible journal, and I refer to it when I want to be inspired. And because I do not want to forget this passage that really spoke to me and I know I need to work on, this will bring me to the fourth tip I use that transformed completely my Torah study, and that is to use scripture to create a garden of Torah Tefillah or prayer Bible. For example, using the previous passage, I would use this passage to inspire me to pray for people who are struggling with their communication. It would go a little something like this. Please God, I pray that just like you taught us in this passage that we should be sensitive to the state of mind the person we want to talk to is in to be able to be heard, please make that my friend Rachel will find an auspicious time to speak to her husband to discuss the contentious topics in peace, and for him to be receptive to her words and for both of them to feel heard and respected. To make sure I do not forget this passage, I put a green bracket next to the text. To refer to this passage easily, I add a green tab to the page with its subject so I can use it again. My tabs are all color-coded. Green is for prayers, purple is to do teshuvah or to return to God, yellow is for my daily habits I want to implement, and the blue tabs are there to help me reinforce my emunah or belief in God. To make sure I can refer to these inspiring passages with ease, I align the same color tabs. This way, when I need some inspiration or I want to pray for someone in a specific realm, I can easily find what I'm looking for. My garden of Torah Tefillah has really helped me to word my prayers with much more ease, and I feel they have more strength because they are based on scriptures. And also because I revisit the passages again and again, it is a great way to memorize scriptures and make them relatable. That leads me to my tip number 5 that really helped me improve my Torah learning and my relation with God, and that is to put in practice what I have studied in my Torah session. For me, if I simply read the Torah and say, oh well, that was fun, and I do not apply it, it is like I studied for med school but never put my knowledge into practice. So to make sure I bring my learning to life, I will put in my planner the word of the day from my daily study and the phrase of the week from my Torah Tuesday session to help me focus on that Amidah or character trait I have learned about and I really want to improve in my daily life. Following this passage about timing, I will work on my timing this week, on how I interact with people, and I will ask myself, is it the best time to speak to that person, and do they look amicable to a conversation? I pray with all my heart that these 5 tips I use to study Torah as an Orthodox Sephardic Jewish woman will not only help you as much as they help me bring my Torah or Bible study to the next level, but it will also help you grow closer to God and become the person God has given you the potential to be. I would love to know which of the 5 tips really resonated with you. Let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for being here. It means the world to me, and know that in my book, you are my ongoing source of inspiration. You help me overcome my daily obstacles, and you give me strength to grow to be the best Proverbs 31 woman I can be, no matter what. And if you're here until the end, please write in the comments, I love scriptures. So I know I was not alone. And if nobody told you today, know that you are loved and you are enough just the way you are. Until next time, stay safe, stay blessed, and don't forget to frum it up.